on to the Goliath. As we promised in the last episode, we won ourselves both the Ferrari and the Ford, so we had our options. I've chosen to go with the Ferrari. Its stats just stacked up a little bit better. The Ford has the edge in top speed, but the Ferrari generally has the edge in acceleration and handling. And that's generally what I prefer. It's just what suits me better. I'm fairly sure they're both adequate. And we've got this one race. Okay, let's not do that. We were never going to do this perfectly clean. This is why we have a rewind button. Got to get used to the car. This is the first I have driven this car. I have not practiced with it. I did not drive it to the start line or anything like that. This is my practice. So we've got to get used to the braking and where our turning points are. It's got a little bit of skid, but that's expected. It is only rear-wheel drive. I don't know what tyres. This is the storm season. Thankfully it's not actually raining right now. And this is the Goliath, which is the longest race in the game, I'm fairly certain. It's basically a giant lap around the entirety of the map area. And it's pretty large. I forget the exact distances. I'm sure it told me. But I don't read much in this game. So we just need to hang in here and eventually win. We don't have a championship. It's one and done. And then we'll win the other Ford GT, the 2017 Ford GT, that we need in order to do the weekly challenge. Now, when I did the Gauntlet recently in an A-spec'd up, like a tuned up Volkswagen combi van, yes, that's a thing. It took me about half an hour, I think, just to do that. And that's not even the longest race. And I imagine the speeds I was getting in that are probably similar to the speeds that I'm getting in this, quite frankly. So this might be a long video, because I am wanting to do this and the weekly challenge after it. And that'll get me the points that I need for the season. And we'll win our last car. Ooh, I am really not braking enough. And I'm being overtaken by others. Well, I guess I got more acceleration out of the corner, so there's that. And he's now just pushing me off the road. That's just fun. Do like a bit of argy-bargy. We need to start cutting some of these corners. We have that ability. Let's start using it. I also need to remember to accelerate through the bends a little bit more. I've been lifting off far too much and just skidding wide. I always have to remind myself that. You'd think I would have learnt by now. Brake too hard for that probably, but wanted to get a decent line through there. Oh, this set of corners always does me in. There's another race that does them the other direction. That was not clean. It's strange. When you're behind the AI, often they'll make some mistakes, like skidding a little bit wide every now and then. When you're in front, they seem to just race perfectly. I'm sure it's just psychological, but... Ooh, I almost hit that. Nice scenery through here, at least. And that's the fun thing about the Goliath. I do actually really enjoy this track. It's very long. That was terrible. Let's redo that one. It's a good way to see the whole of the map. You get all the variety. We go from the canyons here, all the way through to the dunes, back via the jungle. I prefer doing it in like a B or maybe A class car. Actually, this is an A-class car, to be fair. Something like a B-class car is a little bit more pleasant. You're not feeling like you're struggling and taking forever to get around the map, but you also don't feel like you're quite as on the seat of your pants. That was a checkpoint that I've missed, I think. No, apparently not. I've just made an absolute mess of that corner through there. I should not have been on the road, or on the grass as much as I was. I expected to have to rewind, so I didn't fix myself as quickly as I should have. So it seems that so long as a millimetre of your car goes on the inside of the checkpoint line, and that's all that matters. So I don't know why I'm pulling away from my fellow Ferrari. I wasn't able to do much tuning. I increased the tyre pressure slightly. Because generally I prefer the feeling of having slightly higher than provided tyre pressures. I don't think it helps all that much, but on a dry surface, it seems to result in a bit better performance. When it's damp or you're going over rough surfaces, then you want it a bit lower. And we're going through the mountain range now. To our left is the caldera. And on the other side will be the desert and the dunes. We will be cruising at an altitude of 300 meters. I have no idea what the elevation is. There's one thing you never get a sense of is what the elevations are. Don't know how tall the mountain is meant to be. It feels pretty tall though. It's probably a good 500 meters or something. Maybe it's meant to be more. Ooh, there's a nice big storm off in the ocean. Please don't come any closer. I assume the weather is set for the race rather than being live. Oh, everyone else is completely stacked up one behind the other, it seems. There's no variation in how they are racing. That's funny. Is it because I got a little bit too far ahead and they just resorted to not going around to map behavior again? I don't know, we're just out here enjoying ourselves. Ooh, enjoying ourselves a little bit too much. Okay, there's two of them ahead. I just had to make it exciting, you know. Just can't be off too far ahead. That was a horrific corner and I should have rewound, but I didn't need to. I like having a little bit of a buffer so I don't feel like I have to constantly mash B, you know, mess up. With a little bit of an allowance. And try and learn from my mistakes, but not very well it turns out. I think I'm not braking quite hard enough for when the corner's a little bit twistier. I'm also taking rubbish lines through a lot of this stuff, I think. We can try and put on our big boy pants a little bit more. But I don't want to over-focus too much, right? Otherwise this is going to be a very silent and very boring video. I like to have a little bit of personality in it, you know. I am by no means a very good or perfect racer at this game, and that's what you're seeing, warts and all. But this is fun. I do like, so the fact that you get to see all of the different parts of the map. Trundling along here in like an old Aston Martin is really nice as well. Get a little bit more of a sense of enjoying the scenery, going for a nice drive as opposed to just blatting through it and focusing on the next checkpoint and the next corner and how badly we're going to do it. The other annoying thing about this, instead of the likes of the Gauntlet or Colossus or Marathon, the Juggernauts, and there's another one that I forget the name of. The other longest, like, royal events. They're all point to point, so you get a percentage so you know how far through you are. This is a lap, so it's a circuit, so I just get 1 out of 1 lap, so I have no idea how far through I am. Like, we're about the opposite side of the map from where we started, so roughly we're probably halfway now. Except that going through the jungle area is a lot twistier. So I suspect that we're not halfway in terms of track requirements, so to speak. Probably should have made some upgrades. At the very least to like the springs. I wouldn't have been able to upgrade the tyres, I'm fairly sure, without bumping it into S1. And it had to remain, I think, A rating. I had about 20 points to play with, which could have been good for springs, maybe some aero. But who knows what the opponents would then have tuned. And I mean, this is a classic Ferrari racer. There is a bit of a sense of don't mess with perfection with these sorts of cars. You know, it's a different case of where you're trying to turn a car that was not designed for racing specifically to be better than it was originally produced as. This was made for racing, so fairly sure they knew what they were doing better than I do. That said, modern advancements do have a lot to say, and having a better transmission would probably also help to get a little bit more out of the power band. The fact that we're only in 4th gear at 260, each gear is having to do a lot of heavy lifting. It's nice that you don't have to worry about as many gear changes, but this isn't automatic. Which in itself is kind of breaking the fourth wall a bit, because I'm fairly sure this would have been manual only. I don't think you would have had an automatic gearbox in this car. But I cannot be bothered with manually changing gears and figuring out what gear I should be in for each corner. I do like this stretch of road. A high-speed highway through the mountains. But the bizarre thing is now it just disappears. And now we're just back to single-lane road. It's not like we turn off. I feel they should have had that be like a construction site or something going through another tunnel. It's like, yeah, this is where the road's going to go. But instead, nope. Now, that's the interesting thing about this map in general, is there are no roads leading out of the map. Something I don't really notice much. And it's easy to play the game without realizing that, yeah, we're actually in a containment facility, essentially. Like, how are we supposed to get out? We flew in, I guess, so we don't need to, but yeah, it's interesting they've removed the need of explaining away or blocking off passages to the outside world by just not having any roads that go to the outside world. I mean, at that point, instead of making it be set in Mexico, why not just have it set on, like, Hawaii or something? That was where Test Drive Unlimited 2 was really good. And the first one, I believe, but I never played the first one. You were set on Ibiza and then Oahu, so both islands, so there's just a natural limit to how far you can go. They don't need to worry about blocking the player from going certain places, because there's an ocean. I guess here we have mountains on one side and jungle on the other. Oh, that was a crucial mistake. Critical mistake. Yeah, so there we go. Now, do we rewind or do we back ourselves to be able to get the lead back again? That's the thing, is I did have a little bit of a lead, but one really bad corner, and that's enough. I don't really want to have to do this entire race again, but I'm fairly sure I'm now beyond the point that I can rewind. So we've just got to back ourselves. So I'm guessing because it was a high speed area through there that the Ford actually came out ahead. But now we're coming into the twisty stuff. This is where we should get back in front if we do it properly. But it is close. Can we stay ahead? We've just got to do these corners well, which, you know, not my forte, but we'll do what we can. Just hold them off. This is a corner that I will rewind the hell out of if I need to. We are racing very defensively right now, and it has worked. We are in front, and closing it on the line, and it's only 15 minutes. Okay, so this went a bit faster than I expected, which is good. That is only the second time that I've done that race. And there's our 2017 GT Ford. Alright, now, drive our new car. Big shoes to fill. Next, take it out for a spin and earn 2 stars or more at the La Silica Speed Zone. So La Silica, as you might be able to guess, is in the sand, funnily enough. And we need to get 2 stars, I believe, which is apparently only 144 kilometers average through here, so that should actually be really easy, I would have thought. And thankfully with speed zones, as we covered last time, the AI NPCs get ghosted, so we can drive straight through them and it doesn't matter. And there's 2 stars. Not quite enough to be 3. We were being pretty conservative. Packing a punch complete. Project Phoenix. Celebrate its rise by earning 3 ultimate air skills. Okay. Well, that should be easy enough. We're right by the dunes, so time to do some dune bashing in a Ford GT. And it's still telling me to go backwards to the speed zone, which is funny. Now, it's at least 1 probably, but things cached in, which confuses it sometimes. This will either be 2 or 3. That was 3. Perfect. Now let's get another one. Part of the family. Take a photo to capture it from your favorite angle. This is the easiest set of challenges ever. That's absurd. Well, good. I like an easy one sometimes. And that means we can literally take a photo wherever we like. But I think that in homage to what we were just doing, that is the shot that we want right there. There we go. What sort of angle? Oh, there we go. Let's get that in behind. It needs to be obvious that we're actually in midair, though. There we go. And there's our thumbnail. Grand tour complete, and that's the weekly challenge done. And that means that we have our 40 points. We have our Alfa Romeo 155. But because that didn't take us as long as I thought it was going to, let's do the last seasonal championship. Gotta say, I'm a little bit disappointed. I had hoped that I'd get to race the Ford GT a little bit. We'll have to make do with this BMW instead. And this white hood is... that sounded bad. The brightness of this bonnet is dazzling me. So let's get inside the car, shall we? That's a little bit better. Hopefully we don't get too much windshield glare. Bugs me that the windshield glare sticks around even when we're inside a tunnel for a little while. But, yeah, let's dispense with the bright foreground so we can actually see ourselves think. It's just very distracting. I don't mind when you have a nice reflection or something, but I really need to paint this car. I think this is just stock painting, but it's definitely been tuned to an extent. Oh, there is a dirt section to this, that's good. Because I'm fairly sure this has rally springs. Oof, and maybe a rally diff. But I did tune it more for road racing, I suspect. It is a 4-wheel drive though. Which should be better than the... actually I think the Nissan, and I think that might be a Subaru. Never mind, we have no advantage here. The advantage is being able to cut corners more than they do. That was rubbish. We have 2 more laps to remember how to race this track. 4-wheel skids is generally not the way to do it. This is also tuned more for acceleration than top speed, which is handy because this track does not really have any long straights to speak of. This is probably the most we've got, and it's immediately followed by a sharp corner. So, don't really want to be overcooking it. Same with the tunnel section, to be honest. We've got this tunnel run through here. And you've got a pretty tight corner coming out of it. Which we actually remember to brake for this time. Yep, but almost into the underside of the bridge still. Just bouncing across the curbs a lot. Just as well as the curbs don't really affect your car in the way that they would in real life. If you were curbing your wheels this much, I think your alignment would be screwed. Thankfully we can just ignore the fact that they didn't smooth over any of the road surfaces for us. That bump just before that corner is a really good way to get caught out. But if you brake just before the bump, then you can get through that corner a lot better. We've got a very artful and totally intentional drift tap instead. Definitely intended. Spin this through here. Now, can we do this corner better? Brake now. And now start accelerating through. Ooh, still went quite wide, but we didn't come to a complete stop, basically, like we did last time. So I'll take that. That's some progress. Still a big skid there. I mean, it's always tricky when you're transitioning from dirt to tarmac. It'd be worse going the other way, generally, but at least it's straight when we do that. Oof. Bit of a shunt there. If we nudge the wall with the flat of the side of the car, it doesn't slow us down nearly as much. So it's fine. And we are well ahead. I'm not quite sure why. Because I don't feel I've been racing particularly cleanly, but I guess this car suits me. So I'll take it. I really think of myself as a BMW driver, but hey, when it's a rally-tuned M3, I guess there's no shame in that. Oop, yep, two wheels through there. Now, once again, can we just brake a little bit before the crest, and that was much better through there this time. Yeah, a bit too much of a skid there, but hey, we'll take a few drift points, why not? We are far enough ahead that we can style a little bit. It's kind of famous last words because with our very close Goliath win earlier, we almost lost it because we styled a little bit too much on one corner, unintentional. The difference, I guess, is when you kind of mean it. And are a bit more in control rather than just careening off into the undergrowth. And here we go with the first win for the championship. This should be a fun 15 minutes or so. Dirt speckled everywhere. I should really paint this thing though. Right, this time I feel much better about the cover of my car. And now we can race it in bonnet view without being blinded. And we've got a point-to-point race now, so that's always fun. Also mixed surface, I believe. These are all technically dirt races, they call them, but they're all mixed surface really. It's like rallycross essentially. Sharp corner here. Cut our way across. Got an interesting assortment of opponents. Can't immediately identify the vehicle in front. Not sure if it's a Toyota. Not sure. something a little bit more low-slung and sporty looking than my boxy BMW, that's for sure. Much more the Louis Vuitton bag to my business briefcase. But whatever gets the job done. Oh, that's also a BM. Oh, that's a BM M1, I think. The OG. Very nice. When they actually made an effort to design their cars to look svelte. Almost Italian styling. Until they decided that, you know what? It just doesn't really matter if we put a big enough engine in the front. And I do respect that, to an extent. But a midline weight distribution is usually better. This is not that. Still, we get the job done. We have all-wheel drive. We have a nicely tuned engine. Aerodynamics be damned. That's what the splitter is for. Over braking, but I always screw up these sharp corners. It's onto a very loose surface. And we do not have off-road tyres, I don't think. Or maybe we do, to be honest. I can't actually remember when I was selecting the vehicle whether or not it had off-road tyres. Its performance on the surface makes me think maybe we actually do. And that does make a big difference. The great thing about the off-road tyres in this game is that applying them often reduces your overall car rating, because they don't really factor that in, compared to putting like slicks or something on it, that is. And that means you have a bit more overhead for doing other improvements. And across the line. Well, here we go for the final race of the championship, and I paid more attention when selecting my vehicle, and I can confirm this does not have off-road tyres. The all-wheel drive and just the weight of the vehicle, I suspect, helps to keep it planted on the loose surfaces, and we do pretty well. So, that's nice. I do have a Delta Integrale that does have off-road tyres, but I seem to remember it's using a borrowed tuning kit and it handled like a tractor. So I'll stick with this one because it seems to be doing much better. Up behind the GTR, I think, of some description, and our good old friend the M1. I need to see whether or not I have one of those, and if not, where I can get one, because I do quite like those. Oh, I love it when there's corners with no checkpoints on them. We can cut them a lot more than we otherwise would. And the great thing when racing a vehicle that's set up for off-road is that if you happen to cut a corner across a bit of a loose surface, it doesn't really hurt you that much. I think we broke a bit late there. Nope. Nope. Turns out it worked out for us. This is quite a fun track. Out of all the dirt tracks, I do quite enjoy this one, just bombing through the desert. And then our finishing line is actually in the Horizon Festival Zone itself, which is always fun. Get a hero's welcome. Appropriate, because the title of the championship is When a Hero Comes Along, apparently. Great song. Classic from the 80s. Can't even remember the title of it off the top of my head. See the balloons up ahead, coming up to the festival crowd, giving them a bit of a show. Why not? Freestyle a little bit around these corners. And there we have it. Another championship in the bag. Points we didn't technically need, but nice to have. Well, because we've finished at the Horizon Festival site anyway, let's take a look at our Hall of Fame, because I haven't done that in a while. And I've been racking up a few extra points along the way. Where are we at these days? This dude's sitting at 5.1 million points, and I don't even know how you get that many. That's kind of absurd. All of these guys have dragons. I don't know, they're part of like a clan or something? I don't know. What about near me? Not geographically, but position-wise. We're down in 331,000. Not top of the bunch by any stretch. It says top 1% of 38 million players. Yeah, that's everyone who's ever logged in. There'll be a lot of people who've never gotten any accolades. We're still at the point where even just getting 50 points jumps us a bunch of places. I need to get out of this area, and I just need to do a lot more of the story content and stuff to jump up before I take any of that particularly seriously. But hey, it's nice to be in the top 1%. Well, that will do for now, I believe. We will take our questionable fame and we'll power it into next week, where we'll be on for another season. Actually, let's take a little sneak peek. Next season, we'll be going for a number 1 Evolution and a KTM Expo. Those are fun cars. And we'll have to have a 2018 911 GT2 for the weekly challenge, which presumably is going to be the reward from something again. That's usually how it works. Yep, seasonal championship on the run. That gives us the car we need. Excellent. And otherwise, we've just got to photograph a Corrado. We have one of those. Excellent. And looks like collectibles. Smashing some collectibles. Oh, and a Horizon Open. More multiplayer. Very well. All of that and more starting tomorrow, or whenever I get around to it. For now, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.